Welcome to Satan is My Superhero. In this episode, we examine the story of a real-life demon who betrayed his brothers in arms, deceived many in a craven lust for power, and murdered his own wife and child. With a resume like that, it goes without saying Roman Emperor Saint Constantine the Great is held up as an iconic Christian hero.
If you're not one of those people who think about the Romans every 7 seconds like my husband, there is a sister episode to this one over on our Patreon. Constantine, a biography of BS. It details Constantine's life before Christ entered him.
Go to patreon.com/Satan is my superhero.
And sign up for the Third Circle of Hell to access hours of exclusive bonus material.
Bring lube.
I would do what he says.
So who was Constantine the Great?
In a nutshell.
Constantine was born into the tumultuous world of elite Roman politics at the end of the 3rd century of the Common Era. At the time, the empire was ruled by 4 men at once, known to us as the Tetrarchy. It turns out Constantine had what it took to rise to the top of that duplicitous, murderous world and became one of those tetrarchs.
Ow me back, ow me front, ow me side, ow me everywhere. These knives really hurt, guys.
During this time, there had been much persecution of Christians throughout the Roman world.
Nice kitty, nice kitty.
Constantine's Christian biographers claim Constantine had not carried out any of this persecution. It's difficult to know if that's true or not because Constantine's Christian biographers tell a lot of lies.
Baby, I'm a liar.
You say lies, I say alternative facts.
Truth becomes a funeral pyre.
The 2 main chroniclers of Constantine's life were Eusebius and Lactantius. Both knew him personally, both claimed to be the one who converted him to Christianity, and as I've mentioned, both demonstrable liars.
Baby, I'm a liar.
Alternative fact dissemblers. Thank you.
Can't you smell my pants on fire?
So anyway, in 312 of the Common Era, Constantine was the Tetrarch Emperor of the far western quarter of the Roman Empire, an area encompassing modern-day France and Britain. But due to civil war, the origins of which we explain in the sister episode to this one, Constantine, a biography of BS,
Patreon.com/Satan is my superhero.
Constantine is marching his troops into Italy with the intention of seizing control of Rome.
Left, 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 right, left. Roman soldiers marching home.
Roman soldiers marching home.
Gonna rape and pillage Rome.
Gonna rape and...
Wait, what? Did he say rape and pillage Rome? Are we sagging on? We can't attack Rome. We're Romans. This must be some kind of mistake. My mum lives in Rome.
In Italy, Constantine's forces were victorious and Italian cities began opening their gates to him. The Tetrarch Emperor currently in charge of Italy, Maxentius, retreated to Rome, destroying the bridges along the way.
Keep up the fight, boys. I've got urgent business back in Rome.
What urgent business?
Not being here.
Eventually, Constantine and Maxentius met just north of Rome at a strategic crossing point of the Tiber River, the infamous Milvian Bridge, or at least where the Milvian Bridge had been before Maxentius destroyed it.
I'm not hiding on the other side of the river. You're hiding on the other side of the river.
Here is where we get the most famous made-up bullshit story about Constantine. According to bullshit writer Eusebius, Constantine was struck with a vision in the middle of the day.
He saw with his own eyes the trophy of a cross of light in the heavens above the sun and bearing the inscription, "In this sign thou shalt conquer."
That night, Jesus came to Constantine in a dream and told him to put Christ's sign on his banners. So the sign of the Lord and Saviour Jesus Christ was painted on all the shields of Constantine's army.
Jesus was the first corporate sponsor.
It was not the crucifix, as the lowest rent social media apologist will try and have you believe. One of our Christian biographers tells us it was the Chi, which is a symbol created by putting the first 2 Greek letters in the word Christos together. This is exactly how Twitter became X. They took 3 Ks and smooshed them together with a swastika.
I'm very sorry. We seem to be experiencing some kind of self-editing issue. We expect to resume normal programming any second now.
Our other Christian biographer claimed it was a storygram, which is more cross-like. Imagine the letter P with cross-like arms. But the storygram and the Cairo do look pretty similar. It's a made-up story. The details really don't matter. The fact that 2 Christian writers, both alive at the time, can't agree on the details is the informative part.
These people can't lie straight in bed.
What we can say for sure is that 3 years later, in 315, Constantine had a medallion made with the Cairo on it.
Check out my bling, bitches!
He also had coins minted using the Cairo image. Nowhere did Constantine ever use the storygram, or crucifix for that matter.
Oh, poor storygram.
Back in 312, Constantine was victorious and his rival Tetrarch Emperor Maxentius drowned in the Tiber.
Maxentius, what did I tell you about swimming with your armour on?
The Roman Senate then built and dedicated the Arch of Constantine to the conquering hero in 315. It remains his arch to this day, and you can go visit it in Rome.
Not in this economy.
If you do visit the arch, you will notice a distinct lack of Christian imagery.
Yeah, that's why it's good.
Which would be downright weird and irreconcilable with the alleged importance of the Cairo, or storygram, or even crucifix for that matter, if indeed a vision of Christ and the subsequent painting of the signs on the shields had ever actually happened.
So why no Christian imagery in Constantine's arch, if he so adamantly credited the Christian god with his victory?
Great question, and I'm very glad you asked. Such a very good question. Top-notch, excellent question. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give it a 12.
You're stalling, aren't you?
I have to go now. I have urgent business in Rome.
We're in Rome.
Yeah, but I have to not be here.
There have been many moves and counter-moves made within the Tetrarchy, and while there are still many players left on the board, the only ones that matter for our story are fellow/rival Tetrarch Emperor Licinius and Maximinus.
Word of advice, don't get attached to either of these guys. Actually, don't get attached to anyone in Constantine's orbit.
After the Milvian Bridge, Constantine and Licinius met, made deals, married each other's family members, and produced what has been called the Edict of Milan.
Message for you, Johnny. Listen up.
I just got back from Milan. Christians are in this season, darling.
Oh, goddamn.
Your worst apologist will tell you this was the moment Christianity became the official religion of the empire.
That's bullshit.
More reasonably, one might say this was the legalization, or at least the decriminalization, of Christianity throughout the Roman world.
You can do it if you get a note from your doctor, man.
Our 2 intrepid Christian chroniclers, Eusebius and Lactantius, who were both there at the time, give us different accounts of the edict and events surrounding it, which is a problem for historians, because the only copies we have of the edict come from these 2 contradictory sources.
Are you going to tell the truth?
No, I never tell the truth.
Well, at least we can both agree on that.
I'm just a big fat dirty liar, and you love it.
According to a copy written and preserved by Christians, the Edict of Milan does specifically name Christians, but also very clearly demands religious freedom for all religions.
I think we all know how Christians read this one.
So that we might grant to the Christians and to all others full authority to observe that religion which each preferred.
So you see, this is a Christian nation now.
That's not what it says.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. It merely says you Christians and everyone else are all free to worship whatever silly, made-up deity you like. You can read it all for yourself.
Read it for myself? I will never. Look at me, orator. This is important. I will never read it.
So the words on this document are irrelevant? You simply decide they say whatever you want.
We'll make a Christian out of you yet, orator. Now about my right to bear arms.
According to the copy written and preserved by Christians, the edict not only makes Christianity legal, but also encourages the returning of Christian property seized during the persecutions.
Here's your stuff back. Sorry about that.
Well, what about Uncle Tony?
Oh. Well, you can have the bits the lions didn't eat, I guess.
So while Constantine and Licinius were making nice with the followers of Jesus, our other powerful Tetrarch emperor, Maximinus, was all in on the Christian persecution.
Nice kitty!
In fact, he loved it.
I love the smell of Christians burning in the morning.
Some scholars have pointed out this alleged Edict of Milan may have merely been Constantine and Licinius building their casus belli against Maximinus.
My lord, your brother emperors are demanding we stop persecuting Christians.
They're not the boss of me, are they? I'm still confused by this whole tetrarchy.
Whether the Edict of Milan ever actually existed or mentioned Christians at all, it doesn't change the fact Constantine certainly was setting the Roman Empire on its path to Christianity.
This is going to be the best thing for Rome. One empire united under one god, with one book that we all follow in the same way and agree on. Oh, Constantine, you haven't met many Christians, have you?
Shortly after the Edict of Milan, the rival Tetrarch emperors Licinius and Maximinus went to war.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Licinius was victorious, and while everyone pretended the four-man rule of tetrarchy still existed and other men were named junior emperors, only Constantine and Licinius mattered.
Well, it's just you and me now, Licinius.
Yes, with the two of us at the head of the tetrarchy, we can finally put these civil wars behind us and get on to good governance.
Oh yeah, totally. Murder victim says what?
What?
Constantine and Licinius eventually went to war. Constantine's Christian biographers painted this as the first great holy war.
Christianity versus paganism.
Your omnipotent creator god of the entire universe defeated the fake gods in battle?
Yes, it was a slaughter.
I'll bet. And obviously, your side didn't suffer any casualties at all.
Well, I mean, you know, we had some casualties.
Despite it being the central claim of your religion, you still don't know what omnipotent means, do you?
I thought it meant you can't get a boner.
Finally, in 324, Licinius surrendered after Constantine promised to spare his life.
How did that work out for him?
A year later, Constantine hanged Licinius.
I have my fingers crossed, bitch!
Constantine was now the sole emperor of the Roman Empire.
It was always going to end that way.
Traditionally, the Roman emperor took on the role of Pontifex Maximus, which is the head of the pagan religion, the pagan pope, if you like.
Kiss my ring.
Gross.
Our Christian sources from the time are weirdly silent on what happened to this position during the reign of Constantine.
Oh, he totally called himself Pontifex Maximus.
Despite very obviously being head of the pagan religion, from the 320s onwards, Constantine's preference for Christianity became more obvious in the historical record. He got involved in church business, calling for the First Council of Nicaea, which resulted in the Nicene Creed. Among other important dogma, this is where the Holy Trinity was forced on everyone.
This will never work. We've already written all the books. Jesus is shown over and over again to be a very separate entity that defers to the Father.
The dumb shits who follow this religion are never, look at me, Arius, this is important, never going to read the book.
I'm sure someone will read it one day.
Never. Look at me, Arius, this is important. I beg your pardon. Oh, God. One more time.
Constantine's coinage and iconography featured the Cairo more and more from the 320s onwards, and he also started instituting morality codes.
I don't know if it's really the state's business what people do in their own bedroom.
Well, as a Christian, it's your job to be obsessed with the sex other people are having.
Oh, right, because of the omnipotence thing.
No, we've talked about this. That's not what it means.
I'm so confused.
His Christian biographers tell us tales of Constantine's elderly mother, Helena, going on pilgrimage to the Holy Land, where she personally discovered the actual tomb where Jesus was laid to rest for 2 nights and 1 day.
I thought it was 3 days. They always say 3 days. Why do they always say 3 days?
We're not that bright.
Later Christian writers will add fantastical stories to this already fantastical tale, with Helena finding the cross Jesus was nailed to and bringing it back to Constantinople.
Mum, stop bringing shit you found in the street back to the palace!
In this period, Constantine got so close to being Christian, he even dabbled in a bit of anti-Semitism.
That's for killing Jesus!
You Romans killed Jesus!
That's not the way we remember it.
In 326, Constantine's wife Fausta and his son Crispus disappear from the historical record. And I mean disappear from the record. Eusebius literally went back through his writings and erased any mention of them.
It turns out it was Eusebius who invented gaslighting, which at this point in the narrative should surprise no one.
No other contemporaries to Constantine write about Fausta or Crispus from 326. This, of course, has encouraged later writers to fill in the blanks.
Conspiracy theorists abhor a vacuum.
Satan.
No matter what you've been told, the earliest written account was gossip nearly 100 years after the event. Absolutely no one knows what happened to Fausta or Crispus or why.
It was a family board game night that went horribly wrong.
The only thing we can be sure of is the amount of covering up that went on would indicate it was very embarrassing to Constantine and damaged his legacy.
He farted playing Twister.
From 331 onwards, the cash-strapped Constantine started stripping all the precious metals and valuables from pagan temples. I think we can safely assume at this point he really had given up on any pretense in believing in the old gods.
If Jupiter wants his roof back, he can come and get it. Yeah, that's what I thought.
In 336, the Persians invaded the Roman ally Armenia. Now, interesting side note here, Armenia was the first ever Christian kingdom.
Being the very first to do a dumb thing.
Not quite the flex you think it is.
Armenian king and ally to Rome, Tiridates III, had converted his whole kingdom to Christianity 30 years earlier.
I'm instituting a new statewide religion.
This is going to mean more taxes, isn't it?
No new taxes.
Oh, okay, cool.
There'll be a tithe.
According to his Christian biographers, Constantine saw this as his opportunity to carry out a holy war. He planned to march out with his army, kick the Persians out of the wonderful Christian utopia of Armenia, invade Persia, and get himself baptized in the Jordan River.
Just like Jesus, except for all the murder.
But in 337, Constantine fell ill and the campaign was cancelled.
I totally could have kicked that guy's ass. He's just lucky. I didn't feel like it.
On his deathbed, Constantine asked for the totally awesome, very handsome and intelligent, beyond reproach Bishop of Nicomedia to baptize him.
Okay, I think I'm finished murdering people. You can baptize me now.
We get this story from Eusebius.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'll bite. Who was the totally awesome, very handsome, and intelligent, beyond reproach Bishop of Nicomedia?
I'm glad you ask. It was, checks notes, Eusebius.
Suck it, Lactantius. You're a bitch. Your mama's a bitch. Your daddy's a bitch. Your neighbor's a bitch. The guy who walks his dog past your house on Thursdays is a bitch.
Again, relying on Eusebius because we haven't learned our lesson, Constantine allegedly died on May 22nd, which coincidentally happened to be the last day of the 50-day festival of Pentecost that year.
I smell
bullshit.
This last day of the festival is claimed to be the day the Holy Ghost visited Mary and the apostles after Jesus had ascended to heaven. This is fulfillment of prophecy proving Jesus is Lord. It is seen as the Christ baptizing his disciples with the power of the Holy Ghost. This is where the church gets its mandate.
It's a message from the Lord. Whichever totally awesome, very handsome and intelligent, beyond reproach bishop baptized Constantine must now hold the Lord's mandate. Who was that totally awesome, very handsome and intelligent beyond reproach bishop? Oh, wait a minute. It was me. Fuck you, Lactantius. Bitch.
What can we take away from Constantine? In Christianity, being a cunning, duplicitous, power-hungry dictator will result in sainthood. And that's why Satan is my superhero. Thank you so much for listening. Rate, review, subscribe, all that podcast stuff. But most of all, please give us money.
Visit SatanIsMySuperhero.com.
If you join our Patreon at the Third Circle of Hell, you'll receive access to exclusive content like this.
Oh, Galerius, what crawled up your ass and died?
You laughed. Constantine, come back. I wasn't going to murder you. I promise. Down.
I was so mean to them. You should have seen me. I was, really mean.
These knives really hurt, guys.
Rich people love sharing. It's what they're most famous for.
No one told me their god was a diarrhea god.
Just wait till Jesus gets here, then you'll see.
It works for the bloody cabbages.